congratulations on your book. You get Peggy Lee in the beginning of your book. You got Nassim Taleb in it as well. It's an interesting book about a change in your life. When did your life change?
My life changed actually 7 years ago yesterday. That was my anniversary.
I saw that out on Twitter. I knew this.
When I collapsed from exhaustion, burnout, and sleep deprivation, hit my head on my desk on the way down, broke my cheekbone, got 4 stitches on my right eye, and it started me on this journey of asking myself the questions that Greek philosophers used to ask, like, what is a good life? What is success? Because by conventional definitions of success, I was successful, but by any sane definition, if you are lying in a pool of blood on the floor of your office, you're not successful.
The critics would say that you've been driven, coming out of Greece, you've been driven, and you've been successful, and you've made many millions. How do you bring the advantages an elite has or someone successful has over to those less successful? How can those struggling in America thrive?
Well, what I'm saying in the book is that we are all living under a collective delusion that the way to thrive or succeed is the more popular word, is to simply burn out, that's the only way to succeed. And because we have a lot of role models who've done it this way, we believe that. But it's totally untrue. I was talking to Oprah the other day for her show, Super Soul Sunday, and she said, at the beginning of doing my show, I used to be so exhausted that I didn't have the energy to take my clothes off, and I would sleep in my clothes. Now, do you really think that Oprah is Oprah because she didn't have the energy to take her clothes off?
I sleep in my bow tie every night. I'm sorry.
Totally believe it.
That's from the TMI file.
Totally believe it.
Just the bow tie?
I want
Just the bow tie.
Don't you want a picture for Instagram of him sleeping in his bow tie?
Yeah, we're going to get that going on Instagram
Tonight.
later on. Actually, Arianna, I want to bring in my morning must-read, which is actually from a couple of weeks ago, but it's relevant to this conversation. It's from Rosa Brooks, a Georgetown University law professor. She wrote in Foreign Policy as a pushback to Sheryl Sandberg and Lean In. She says, recline. If we're going to fight the culture of workplace ubiquity, we need to do it together, and we need to bring our husbands, boyfriends, male colleagues along too. They need to lean out in solidarity. What does Sheryl Sandberg make of your argument to thrive?
Well, actually, Sheryl has given it a great endorsement. She and I did a conversation at the San Francisco Symphony Hall, and Sheryl herself talks about getting 8 hours sleep, about leaving Facebook at 5:30 to have dinner with her kids and then working after that. We are actually seeing there is no trade-off between performance and nurturing our human capital. And look at star athletes. They're ahead of business people because there it's all about winning. And so they've integrated sleep, meditation, yoga practices because they're more effective.
I want to bring this back, Arianna. I think this is important to the 10,000 women right now throwing their stiletto heel at the TV screen because they're making $122,000 a year and they can't afford the construct to thrive as those successful can. How do you suggest those with less advantage can thrive?
Well, actually, what I say in the book is that wherever you find yourself, whether you are struggling to put food on the table, or I even quote people in concentration camps, the one thing that we can actually control is our own attitude to what happens in our lives, bring in a sense of gratitude about wherever we find ourselves. I think the problem is right now is that we are actually focusing so much on the first two metrics of success, money and power, that we're missing out on the third metric, which includes our well-being, wisdom, wonder, and giving.
And what's great about this, Adam, the appendices, Arianna's got like 40 pages of appendix about, okay, here's what to do.
Yes, and giving was a part of that. Well, actually, it's all in the family because, as it turns out, Arianna, you wrote a review of Aaron Hurst, your book, where, by the way, Arianna, you said Aaron Hurst powerfully sums up the purpose economy of fundamental changes taking place. What is it about purpose, about giving, about this notion that we're becoming bigger than ourselves, Aaron?
I think it's that we got faster, we got stronger, we got smarter, and now we're trying to get more human. And I think we're getting to that point with the millennial generation where they're mandating that. And I'm curious, Arianna, with your business, how are you helping your employees improve their well-being? I think a lot of CEOs are struggling. They want to do this. They don't know how. What advice do you give them?
Well, first of all, at HuffPost, we have an email policy which makes it clear that once you are off work, you're off work. You're not expected to be on unless there is something urgent that happens and we reach you. We have 2 nap rooms where people can go and have a nap if they are tired in the middle of the day.
Please, thank you. Can this be a federal law?
Well, absolutely. Bloomberg should totally institute nap rooms
I need you
for
to
you
speak
guys.
to Mr. Bloomberg.
Right here on the table.
Afternoon.
We've done that. Scarlet
with the bow tie.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have
coming on Instagram
meditation
as well.
classes, breathing classes, yoga classes, healthy snacks like you have, although yours are not entirely healthy.
Arianna, I want to get to the American quote, modern-day philosopher David Letterman, and you quote him later in your book on giving. Part of this is, I mentioned those less advantaged earlier, but for those advantaged to give more. Is there a new charity?
Well, first of all, it's whatever charity, and it's not just money, it's also time. And it's also just little things like making personal connections with people otherwise we might take for granted in the course of our day. You know, our cleaning crew, the barista in the coffee shop. It's just daily acts of kindness and conscious living that transform the way we live our lives.
Yep.
And you talk about transformation. Our business is transforming incredibly. I mean, it almost seems like weekly. Digital media. You were a pioneer of bundling content, getting it together, getting smart people to talk about it. Where's it going over the next year?
So one of the changes that's connected to what we were saying is that while the tradition used to be that if it bleeds, it leads, right? Put bad news on the front page and it will do great. Now, with the emphasis on social, we are finding that what people like to share is actually good news, is actually examples of generosity, ingenuity, compassion. That's the kind of content that gets most play. I mean, we have a dedicated section on HuffPost called Good News.
Yeah.
Right.
And it gets incredible traffic and a waiting list of sponsors.